Welcome to the Bird's Nest Podcast, episode 4, going back in time with a friend. Today, I have a close friend here that I've been knowing for some time now, and I'll let him introduce himself today.
Hey, my name is Ishmael. We've been friends with Bird since middle school.
Way back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like middle school, man. Like, time flies back. In today's episode, I just want to let the audience know a little bit about you, your story that I admire, and how we sort of like went through it, right? From middle school, we've been next to each other like side by side till we got our diploma, right?
Right.
College, right? We walked the same stage the same day.
Yeah.
Right. And so
that's
that's
crazy.
a long time, right? Like from middle school. When did we meet? Like fifth grade or
Fifth grade,
fifth grade, right? So fifth grade
McMurray.
till
Shout out McMurray.
Shout out McMurray, right? And then we went to school for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
In college. So that's what a good time, right? I mean, I don't even know how old we were back then, but
yeah. So it's just it was kids,
Yeah, we were kids, right? So we went through it all. We had like, we had that like ambition, or we had that plan, right? Like we always sort of like competed, right? We was always like like it was you, me, and an old friend of ours, right? That would always like compete in school and whatnot. Right. But it's crazy to for me to see, or for the audience to see that we've been that close for that long.
Yeah.
And how we're still staying connected, right?
Right. Yeah. So it was just it's crazy, It's like you think about it, how many years have passed, and like everybody that we've known,
right.
Everybody's gone different routes,
Right.
But yeah, we kind of stayed together up until college,
Right. And we still sort of, how are we in today, sort of like staying, keeping in touch with each other, right?
Yeah.
Like work related, outside, right? Social. How we still try to make an effort,
Yeah.
So we've been blessed to still continue our friendship, and hopefully last many still more years to come, right? And
it's not easy.
It's not easy, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people fall off. Like you said, how many friends have we had, since middle school?
Yeah.
And some of them have fell off, right? For one reason or another, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not always like financial things. It's just sometimes people are only meant to be there for like a certain time, right? Like you hope that you can be cool with somebody for forever, but it's like you fall off for some reason or another.
Just life happens,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all busy, right?
You get a girlfriend,
Some of our friends have kids now.
Get serious.
Like they're in school.
That's right.
Like some of our friends had kids since we were in high school.
Right.
And now they're like 9-10 years old. So it's life, right?
Yeah.
But thankfully, not saying it's a bad thing, but we don't.
It's part of the journey.
It's part of the journey.
Yeah,
but both of us, we don't have kids. Like we have girlfriends, but we're starting. But we were more like, I think, concentrated on business or like future, right? Like, really serious, like focused, right?
Yeah, I think it's just part of your background. Like you come from different places, so like you struggle a little bit. So you're like, got to make sacrifices. Yeah.
So I want you to tell the audience a little bit, about your story, right? It's like, about, how you grew up, and where you're at today, and to show them, the way I see it, I look at you is like, you're making it, right? You've made it to, like, which, to you might be like you got a ton more to go, right? I think it's like you're at a good point in life, and you're going towards a better direction, right?
Right,
just, to know, that, you don't just wake up one day and that you got to here, right? It's like what you did to get here, right? What you did, right? And before we go into, your story and stuff like that, I just want to, I want to talk a little bit about how, we were able to get, from 5th grade to the diploma of, how we were able to, our friendship, but also mutually like use it to keep each other on track, right?
Yeah.
Like, we went to the same degree, right? And we graduated the same thing, but I think it was easier for you and me to graduate college because it's like I didn't go into it by myself,
Right.
Like
it's like having a brother, It's like having
like a bond that we created, and it's like, and we were also, it was resourceful because like, I wasn't in it like by myself, right? Like we were trying to figure things out together because whatever I couldn't figure out, you helped me. Whatever you couldn't figure out, I try to help, right? Down to
because we didn't have like a role model,
a role model, nothing. Like we were sort of like, we got to figure it out,
just being first generation, it's just So I mean, I think it started back in middle school. Like I don't know, like if you remember, we had like we had some advanced classes, right? Like just like, you know, I don't know if they still do that now, but they had like advanced math, advanced science, advanced,
like
you know,
AP
just
classes and all that stuff.
kind of,
right?
yeah, back in middle school, you know. So you go into high school and you're like already taking like advanced courses.
Yeah, we were always like 1 year ahead, right?
Yeah. So it was like, it was pretty cool. Like to me, that was like a big kind of a motivation thing, you know, because I'm like, oh shit, like, you know,
like we're doing
like,
things that are above us. You know,
yeah.
Like we were sophomores doing juniors work and juniors doing like seniors work, right? So
I guess like going back to then, like that to me was like a big motivator, because I was just like, oh shit, you know, and I'm not just just like fuck up, or you know, not like that, but it's like, I mean,
like we were doing more than like even like the regular, like what everybody else was doing. Like for some reason, early on, we were already like doing like something that was older of us, right? That
because I mean, I guess being young and not having any like role models or whatever, like, you know, like you don't know who to look up to, and like it's like you have no guidance, you know,
right?
So you're like on your own, so you're like, you know, am I doing okay? Am I doing, you know?
Right.
So it's like
you don't really have like a background to be like a checklist, right? To be able to you know, usually, you know, some people might be able to look at other older siblings, you know, and check, you know, to see if we're doing well. Like in my case, I don't have an older sibling. For you, you know, you were the oldest male, right? So it's also sometimes different between male and female, right? Like in some scenarios. And you know, it's just it's nice to, like, you know, you be able to keep yourself on check, right? Like what we believe was like, oh, successful, or like keeping up ahead of each other, like trying to do that little extra mile, right? Might have not been a lot at the time, but you know, it's like I think that's like what started paving that way towards you know what we're doing now, or you know what we went through to get to where we're at now. You know?
Yeah, and you probably feel the same way, because like, you know, we had classes together, and it was just like and a lot of our classmates too. Like, I mean, there's some of them that took a different route, you know, like got into like gangs, drugs, you know, stuff like that. So it's like
you know, we've had high school friends that, you know, have you know, sadly passed away, you know, and it's like, you know, we sort of like in a way almost saw it coming, because it's like we told them, you know, like early on, like, hey, you know, stay away from that, you know, like nothing good will come from that, because, you know, we went through all that, right? Like we was around that, you know, we grew up, I think, like not in like the nicest like part where it's like like, you know, we were like a little bit hood, you know, like you know, we was around it all, but you know, we knew when to like stay away, right? Or like, you know, change direction, do something different, right? So it was one of those things to where it's like we just knew at a young age, like, right from wrong, right? Not because it was cool, you know, we was gonna do something that like could affect our future, right? And I feel like a lot of people that are around us during that time like really fell into it, right? Because it's like they sort of got sucked into that.
You get sucked in,
and it's like they don't really ever know how to get out of it, or they feel like it's normal for them to like do that, you know, like it's okay. And I'm like, it's not okay, because you know, they used to say, oh, it's just for right now. And you know, when I'm older, or you know, I know when to quit. And sadly, like some of our friends never knew when to quit.
That's right.
Or like are still doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and now it don't look so pretty. You know, when you're like, you know, we're closer to 30 than we are to 20, right? And it's like, at what point, you know, did they think or knew that they were gonna be in the same spot? Then maybe they had never picked it up, right? That bad habit or something like that.
So it's just like, and then you have consequences that come after that, you know. So whatever you do, your choices just have consequences, you know. It's all so it's something that I learned pretty early on, you know. It's just like
and they follow you for a long time.
You kind of you get to choose, you know. So like some people say, nah, I'm a victim of like my surroundings or society or this and that,
like
you know.
Society set me up to fail, and it's or it's like, you know, some people bring up race, you know, that it's like, oh, you know, we're not supposed to be somebody. You know, they're like, oh, it's normal for us to like, you know, it's okay for me to not be doing well, because it's like, you know, that's just the way it is. And it's like, you know, here we are being like that exception, you know, or trying to be that exception, right? In the sense of like, you know, we could have easily been in the same shoes, right? Just let like that norm or trap that everyone else is saying just weigh on our shoulders and like give up, right? But it's like, you know, we're doing the opposite, right? Using that as a challenge, or like a fuel, right? To like be like, you know, no, like, you know, I want people to see, you know, that we're doing so well, even though, you know, we're told that we can't, you know, that like, oh, that it's impossible, that like, you know, a kid from McMurray Middle School was never gonna make it, like, you know, we belong to like the hood, or like we're never gonna be somebody, you're only gonna be a worker like for the rest of your lives, and you're gonna die and you're gonna be insignificant type, you know. And it's like, that's, you know,
and that's what kind of helped us get into choose a career, you know. Like we're like, because our parents both did, you know, construction and labor, you know, they worked outside and stuff, you know. So it's just like we're like, what do we do, you know?
It's like do we follow in their footsteps, you know, or like, well, what can we do that's like next above them, you know?
And my dad, he'll tell me, he was like, yeah, you should be like an architect or something like that, you know?
That's, like he was saying. I had that mindset also. Remember,
yeah.
At the beginning we wanted to be architects, and then we found out that like architectural schools in Knoxville, and then we don't want to be in office all day. Yeah. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? We don't want to go to like Knoxville. Like I was like, nah. So what can we do? And then we started, doing a little bit of research.
Asking, and we found out Nashville State,
Nashville State. What can we transfer? Because we also even went to we did the same thing. We transferred and everything at the same time. Like,
that's right.
It's like, we sort of came up with this plan that it was like, it was cheaper to go to Nashville State then transfer to MTCU. And, we wanted to be residential management because that was construction, but on a broader aspect.
Right.
Remember, it had so much job and titles that
it was a ton. Yeah, it was a ton. Like a bunch of opportunities.
We're like, why compete with a ton of architects when you have all this other stuff that you could do with that program?
Right.
And I feel like that was like sort of like the factor that we chose that career, right?
Yeah. So then, like my dad was telling me, do this, do that. So I was like, kind of got with Alberto, because again, we didn't have anybody to like, ask or go to or whatever, So it was like, and then like, you go to like school teachers or something like that. They're like, okay, you should try this career, try that career.
Right.
But it's like you never really click because you're like, that's not my background, Like I don't know, I don't have any expertise in that area.
We wanted to pick something that we felt like we could relate to a little bit. Like we had some type of like starting point, right?
Yeah.
Like or something. Also, I think for me was hoping that I could help my dad do this in one day. Which you same thing, right? Like how can our careers like help ourselves, but also like our family, right? Or like our dads, where we can relate to their field. Not go do something completely opposite, where it's like we could have done that, but just thought about ourselves, right?
Yeah. So a lot of people talk about that too. Like I've seen other like YouTube and podcasts, stuff like that. They're like they get that guilt, a little guilt where they take off and do their own thing, or like they get their own career, they move out, they go to a different state or out of the country. But like, so I mean, I guess like, we felt the same thing, because it's like just being, children of immigrants or whatever, you feel the same type of guilt. You're like, what do I do? So it's like you want to help your family out, like you don't want to make it out yourself. You want to come back and help your family. So yeah, it was like,
if possible, right? Like see that route, right? It's like there's no reason why you can't make it out and then bring them along with you, right? Like it's almost like I feel like you probably felt the same way. It's almost like we had to, like it was like our duty to do that, you know, like
so that's what kept me on track, like even when I was in middle school, I was thinking about like damn, my parents didn't come all the way over here, move the country, come over here for me to be fucking in a gang or doing drugs, like I was
or just working like a construction job per hour and like that's all I amounted to, like all that sacrifice has to be for something, it's like that you don't want to be you don't want it to be in vain, it's like I personally think that's like a huge disrespect to your parents, right? Because it's like they showed up here with nothing, and they made it, they're making a name for themselves, and it's like you can't do more than that, you know? When it's like we have the language, we have like a social, everything that's set up, we have the same chances as like any rich white dude, right? Like that grew up in private school, because at the end of the day, it's like we all start off at the same academic standpoint, right? And so
I mean, and even in construction, like you probably heard this too, like a lot of the people in the construction field, they'll be like, man, what is this guy doing? He's got a social security, he's got a license, why is he working out here? Why doesn't he have his own business? A lot
of workers, like they'll be like, man, I don't understand why, like, my son, or like a sobrino, which is like which I think is like that thing they would call them like it's called sobrino, be like, or a friend that like, oh, he's wasting his his potential, like he has a social, he knows English, but he's here like doing the same thing I am, and it's like like it's okay for me because I don't have an option, I didn't have the alternative, but they have every opportunity in the world, but they choose to do this, it's almost like a letdown, it's like, because it's like
so like like right here, like we're talking about it raw, but this is real life,
it's
like
real life,
like
man,
like them motherfuckers, like them Hispanics don't give a fuck about. They tell you raw, they're like,
and they'll tell you in your face, because they're like,
fucking up,
they're
ponte
like,
las pilas.
Yeah, that's what they call it. It was ponte las pilas.
Right,
because it's like, they find themselves in those positions not out of choice, it's almost like that's just that was the option they could do, and that's what they mastered,
and they do pretty well, I mean some of them, they do pretty well. You've seen a lot of contractors too, like they make good money doing construction, like it's not,
by no means is it a bad job, but it's you know what I'm saying, like, but those contractors are doing something else, like they're the boss, even if you're just like a manager of that company for a subcontractor, you're doing something different. You're not just like a laborer, like using you as like a backbone to like be out there in the heat and getting the work done, like to me,